uncertainty. It is what our students must be equipped to face, to have the mindset and skill set necessary to identify opportunity and make an impact. Education must be at this intersection of mindset, opportunity, and connection. This is our collective call to action. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Heidi Neck.
My name is Heidi Neck, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about something going beyond the mindset. I've been teaching entrepreneurship for over 18 years, and I've been a super fan of what we call the entrepreneurial mindset. I would walk into my classes at Babson College, which is really devoted to entrepreneurship education, and tell my students that you're going to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. And they just kind of look at me and they're like, what? And then I ask them, I'm like, well, what is mindset? And then they sit there and they just look at me and crickets are chirping. And finally, about 10 years ago, I heard a story, and it really clicked with me what is a mindset, and in particular, what is an entrepreneurial mindset. So I stole this story, and I'm going to share this story with you now. The year is 1997. A young man graduates from Yale Law School. And rather than taking a big, high-paying job, he decided he was going to give back to the world. He was going to make a true impact on the world. So he moved into this area of Newark, New Jersey called the Central Ward. And the Central Ward, if you're unfamiliar, it's one tenement after another. It really is kind of the slums of New Jersey, high crime, high poverty. And he decided he was going to make a difference. So if you can imagine in the Central Ward, as in any kind of urban area in the United States, there's these large brick buildings where people live. And he decided he was going to get a place in one of these kind of tenements. So he rented a place, he lived there. For 2 or 3 weeks, he walked around trying to figure out how he was going to make a difference, and he was struggling. He called up one of his friends. He said, dude, I just graduated from Yale Law School. I should be able to make a difference in people's lives. And his friend said, you know what you should do? With every one of those tenants in the Central Ward, there is a president of that tenant association. Go find that person. So this young man, this young graduate of Yale Law School, found this person. She lived on the 5th floor of his building. So he climbed up 5 flights of stairs, he knocked on the door, and this little petite African-American woman opened up the door, looked up because this guy was big, and she said, what do you want? He said, ma'am, I just graduated from Yale Law School, and I'm here to help you. And she looked at him, she said, what? He's like, yes, I just graduated from Yale Law School, and I'm here to help you. So she said, follow me, young man. So they went back down those 5 flights of stairs. She brought this big, larger guy into the middle of a very busy street in front of that apartment complex. And she looked up at him and she said, son, look around. What do you see? And the young graduate from Yale Law School looked around. He said, over there, I saw evidence of prostitution last night. Oh, round the corner, you take a right, there's a playground. It's overgrown with weeds, and all the equipment's dilapidated and rusting. And over there, there's a house, it's boarded up, but 12 people are living in that house. And oh, over there, I'm sure drugs are being sold in that corner. And the little petite African-American woman looked up at him and just said, you know, son, you cannot help me. And she walked away. And the young graduate ran after her. He said, no, ma'am, hold on. Why can't I help you? She said, son, if all you see is poverty, weeds, trash, prostitution, and drugs, you can't help me. And she looked at him and said poignantly, who you are on the inside reflects what you see on the outside. Who you are on the inside reflects what you see on the outside. So if all you see is poverty and despair, you can't help me. And it was at that moment that my definition of mindset changed. And that young graduate of Yale Law School is Cory Booker, who is now the United States Senator, one of them for New Jersey. So it was at that time when I saw Cory Booker speak that I'm like, wow, that really is mindset. And then a few other things have inspired me along the way. 3 things. Are you ready for this? Fleas, luck, and a dog in Portugal. And all this relates to mindset, I promise you. Let me tell you a little bit about fleas. Everyone knows what a flea is, right? Say yes, Heidi. Any no's in the audience? Oh, thank God. Okay. So watch this video. This is a scientist that is trying to train fleas. As you know, you put fleas in a jar, and they are going to jump out because that's what fleas do. They jump out. But if you put the lid on the jar and walk away for about 3 days, they will be trained to stay in the jar. They will not jump. Furthermore, if you remove the jar altogether, watch what happens. They stay in that formation. And even when they reproduce, they stay in that formation. This is an old circus trick. When in the traveling circus, you'd see these fleas like this, and people go, wow. But the other thing that I've been inspired by is this concept of luck. So we know from the fleas that there's this imaginary lid, but there's also in entrepreneurship, people always talk about being lucky. And let me kind of get out of the light. How many of you believe in luck? Raise your hand. Come on. Participate. Thank you. So 3 people believe in luck. No, I'm joking. I'm not a big believer of being lucky or unlucky, but I'm fascinated with this research. There's a man by the name of Eric Wiseman, and he's been studying luck for years. And over a 10-year period, he was able to develop an instrument that if you fill it out, you can determine if you are a lucky or an unlucky person. Yes. Now, what he did was he conducted an experiment, and he brought 400 people, like a room like this, together, and he gave everyone the instrument. And then he separated by the results of taking the survey whether you were lucky or unlucky. He put all the unlucky people in one room, and he put all the lucky people in another room. But you didn't know if you were lucky or unlucky. You just took a survey and you were put in a room. So you had no idea that you were taking a survey, one on luck, and you had no idea what your scores were. Okay, clear? All right, so he gave both groups, the unlucky group and the lucky group, the exact same task. He gave them a newspaper, and he said, tell me how many pictures are in this newspaper as quickly as you can. It was an individual exercise. The unlucky people, on average, it took them about 2 minutes. The lucky people over here on this side of the room, it took you about 20 seconds. Lucky people, 20 seconds. Unlucky people, about 2 minutes. And so the question becomes, why the disparity in the time? Well, the unlucky people, what they did as very good students, they went through the newspaper methodically, counting every single picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. The lucky people over here, they looked at the newspaper, counted the 1, 2 on the front page. On the second page, in bold 2-inch print, it said, there are 43 pictures in this newspaper. So whether you believe in lucky or being unlucky, that's irrelevant to this conversation. What's relevant is how do we get students to think beyond and look beyond the pictures? So one with the fleas is how do we actually ignore that imaginary lid, because we all have that imaginary lid. No matter how many times we're told to think outside the box, we do not, because we are comfortable in that box, just as the fleas are comfortable in that jar. No matter how many times we tell people to look beyond the pictures, they're still counting the pictures because that's what they were told to do. And the third thing that I've been inspired by is a dog in Portugal. So I was actually in Portugal a few years ago, and this is a street performer, and I came across this street performer doing this. And if you notice, it's kind of hard in this picture, but notice that there's something hanging from the dog's nose area. Let's see if this plays. That's where the euros are being placed. Right there in the dog's nose area. Now, why am I showing this? Because the third part that I'm inspired by is don't be the best at what you do, be the only at what you do. Because this wasn't the best street performer that we saw, but he got most of my euros because that was clever. He was the only one doing that. So again, when we talk about inspiration through the mindset, removing the imaginary lid, and thinking about not only being the best at what you do and being the only, and also looking beyond the pictures, that really is the mindset. And I've been inspired by the Keene framework around the 3 C's. Should we do a test? Who wants to talk about the 3 C's? Give me one. Curiosity, connections, and creating value. They passed, Doug. Curiosity, creating connections, or connections and creating value. All really important parts of the mindset. But as Doug started talking about this morning, this continuum from the mindset to the action, not only in engineering entrepreneurship education, but also just in entrepreneurial education in general. And in my opinion, and I've been at this a while, focusing on the mindset has given us an excuse to ignore the important parts that both Curtis and Doug were talking about, which is that value proposition in action. If we focus just on the cognitive stuff, that's okay, we can do that. But we really need to move forward, really starting to create that value. And that curiosity part is primarily really what the mindset is. And so I've been playing around with the concept. I even did a TEDx talk on it, and it's evolved even since then of moving beyond the mindset to something called entrepreneurial intelligence. And if you hate that word, that's okay, because a lot of people have given me feedback that they hate the word as well, but it's where we are right now. This is a work in progress, and it's why I speak, to really test out new ideas. So entrepreneurial intelligence, let's go back and really think about, well, what is intelligence in general? And intelligence in general is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. And we all have intelligence. Let's not talk about IQ. I don't want to have that discussion. We all, as human beings, have intelligence. And then in the late 1990s, Goldman popularized through his amazing book, Emotional Intelligence, what that is. And it's our ability to recognize, manage, and understand our emotions as well as the emotions of others. Now we need to become people. And those intelligence and emotional intelligence are both really important, but I want us to move the needle a little bit further. Because in today's environment, we have to develop our entrepreneurial intelligence. Doesn't say intelligence and emotional intelligence aren't needed, they just aren't sufficient. So moving beyond the mindset to a more entrepreneurial intelligence, which is simply the courage. And courage is really important to act on opportunities under conditions of extreme uncertainty or degrees of unknowingness. And that's what I want to chat about quickly now for a few minutes. So it's comprised of 4 different things: the mindset, the ways we identify opportunities, third are the exploratory actions, and also those plunge points, which are those decision-making points where we do something and really go forward. It's really easy to kind of tell students to come up with an idea and test it out a little bit, but those plunge points are really important. Now, it looks linear, but it certainly is not. It's going constantly back and forth. Constantly back and forth. So what I want to focus on are the 2 courage-building parts of what I call the courage-building trek, that journey of developing courage. Because we can do things to develop the mindset, but it's not until the students actually take those actions are they building courage. And when we build courage, we build our confidence. And when we build our confidence, we are okay to fail, and we know what to do when we do fail. And those are the things that we need to develop to identify new opportunities. So in this courage-building trek, there's 2 parts: the opportunity creation and the exploratory actions. Regardless of which way we identify opportunities, the exploratory actions are the same. So where I want to spend a little bit of time is on the opportunity creation. And since I did the TEDx talk, our thinking has evolved on this, and we've actually done some research. Because what we have found is, depending on the type of opportunity, there is a correlation with complexity. So, for example, you can find new opportunities, you can search for new opportunities, you can effectuate new opportunities, and you can design new opportunities. And as you go up that staircase, it increases in complexity and requires a deeper skill set and knowledge set. Finding is simply saying, I see a problem, therefore I'm going to develop a solution. Typically at Babson College, we don't have enough food late at night, therefore I'm going to create a food delivery service. Low order opportunity. Search. I knew I wanted to start a business, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what I wanted to do, so I intentionally searched for a business. Third, effectuate. This is where you really understand who you are, what you know, and who you know, and how you combine that to identify an opportunity that fits with you. And design, which is the highest order, it's you go out and you uncover latent needs that users have, as you all know, and you develop solutions to meet those needs. As you go up, the complexity increases. So let me quickly give you an example. Find an entrepreneur named Jason Creparo, Babson graduate. He noticed the problem of we don't have, business cards are old, business cards are passé. I want to be able to open up my phone and just give you my contact information. Developed an app called Contact. You have it, I have it, we open it up, we tap what we want to share, done. I saw a problem, there's a solution. Search. 2 women graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, great chefs, didn't really know what they wanted to do, started searching around in New York City and found that there was a gap in the gourmet candy bar market. Intentionally searched. They didn't know there was a problem. They didn't even know there was a gap. They searched for that. Effectuate. This is starting with what you know and your experience level. Chris Cranston out of Boston, Massachusetts. She was a sports medicine expert, physical therapist for 13 years, got so tired of that. She had a love for animals that if she turned on Animal Planet, she would start crying because of all the animals that were dying or in despair. She brought these 2 things together and created Flow Dog, which is physical therapy for animals, one of the first 100 in the world to be able to do this. Design, old example, but still prevalent. Design is based on uncovering latent needs. Who knew we needed the iPad or the iPhone until it was put in front of us and it was like, oh my God, I can't live without this. That's design-based opportunity. So we bring all of these together, and again, the actions related to the opportunity, they're the same. Question, validate, test, experiment, connect with others. It's the same. But we cannot expect our students to simply design overnight. My argument related to entrepreneurship education is that scaffolding of find, search, effectuate, and design. You need to help them. And as they do these things, the mindset ultimately will be developed. Through the mindset, through the ways that they develop opportunities, through the exploratory actions, and then making those plunge decisions, they, in fact, are developing the courage to take actions under increasingly different levels of unknowingness or heightened levels of uncertainty. So at the end, what I want to say is that we need to develop students that can take the action. It's not enough anymore just to say, woohoo, you have a mindset. We have to build in that action component. And because the mindset has become so popular, it's really given us permission not to go far enough. It's given us permission not to go far enough. So my call to all of us, including myself, is push our students farther than we think they can go. And don't fear the action component of entrepreneurship, because it's really helping our students just to entrepreneur, not necessarily to be an entrepreneur. And there is a difference. So at the end of the day, intelligence is really about surviving, advancing, and competing. And emotional intelligence is about socializing, empathizing, and communicating. But entrepreneurial intelligence is about the ability to create, to navigate uncertainty, and to transcend where we are now as a human race. We hear so much about the robots that are going to take over the world. I guarantee if we focus on building the entrepreneurial intelligence of our students, we will be a necessity. They cannot destroy us. Thank you very much.